Okay, if you're a senior architect, you know multi-cloud is here to stay. But let's be real, you also know it can be a total mess. So today, we're going to talk about how to tame that chaos. We're going to build a unified framework that will save you time, money, and, let's be honest, your sanity. Let's dive in.
So, are you using AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud? Yeah? Then you know exactly what I'm talking about. You've got different platforms, different consoles, completely different rules for each. It's enough to make your head spin. And it's a huge, huge drag on your team's ability to get things done.
And really, that's the heart of the problem, isn't it? Each cloud provider hands you its own rulebook, its own way of doing things. So your teams are constantly switching gears, trying to remember which set of best practices applies where. And that just leads to confusion, rework, and a ton of wasted effort.
So, what are these rulebooks I'm talking about? Well, they're officially called the Well-Architected frameworks, and they're basically the official playbooks from AWS, Azure, and Google on how to build really great applications. You should think of them as your expert guides for creating high-quality, resilient, and efficient systems.
Now, here's the key mindset shift. Don't think of these frameworks as competing standards you have to pick between. Instead, picture this. You're building a house, and you have 3 master architects giving you blueprints. They might use slightly different terms, but they all agree on the absolute fundamentals, right? You need a strong foundation, solid walls, and a roof that doesn't leak. You wouldn't build 3 separate houses. You'd take the best advice from all 3 to build one amazing house.
And this is where it gets really, really interesting. When you actually lay these frameworks out side by side, you see something incredible. Yeah, the names are a little different. One calls it operational excellence, another calls it system design, but the core ideas, they're practically identical. Everyone agrees on security, performance, and cost. It's almost like they all went to the same architecture school. So if all 3 of these frameworks are basically saying the same thing, why on earth are we doing 3 times the work? That is the million-dollar question. It's a problem that's costing companies a fortune, and frankly, it's just not sustainable.
I mean, come on, we've all been in this meeting, right? You spend weeks getting your architecture perfect for AWS. You finally get the green light, and then someone says, great, now do it all over again for Azure, and then again for GCP. It's just this soul-crushing cycle of redundant work.
And look, this isn't just about wasting a few hours. This repetition creates genuine confusion. One framework might phrase something one way, another a slightly different way. And suddenly your team is stuck in a debate over tiny details. And while you're debating, your competitors, they're shipping new features.
So what's the fix? Well, it's actually pretty simple, but it's incredibly powerful. We need to stop thinking in terms of 3 separate checklists and start thinking in terms of one single unified framework. It's time to build your own master guide.
What we're aiming for is what we call a unified framework. This becomes your company's single source of truth for architecture. It's a cloud-agnostic checklist that pulls the best ideas, the core principles, from AWS, Azure, and GCP into one powerful standard that works for you. And you know what? Creating your own is way easier than you might think. It's really just a 4-step process. First, you analyze the frameworks. Second, you identify all the common ground, and there's a lot of it. Third, you synthesize those ideas into simple, cloud-agnostic questions. And finally, you create it, your own master checklist.
All right, enough theory. Let's see how this thing actually works in the real world. We're going to take our new unified checklist for a spin.
So let's imagine we're building a big, customer-facing e-commerce app. You know the type. It's handling millions of users, processing payments, the whole shebang. It's a complex system, which makes it the perfect candidate to test out our unified approach.
Let's start with a big one, security. Your new unified checklist has one simple question. Is all data encrypted, both at rest and in transit? By answering that one single question, you've just satisfied a major requirement for AWS, Azure, and GCP all at once. That's not just efficient, that's a game changer.
Okay, how about reliability? Your unified question is, can the system automatically recover if something fails? Now look, AWS calls it automate recovery. Azure calls it self-healing. GCP calls it resiliency. They're all just different words for the exact same idea. You answer one question and you've covered all your bases. It really is that simple.
And the result of all this? You review your application's architecture one time. Once, not 3 times. You're no longer wasting your team's most valuable asset, their brain power, on doing the same thing over and over again.
You see, this is about so much more than just saving a bit of time. Adopting a unified approach gives you a serious strategic advantage in a multi-cloud world.
The payoffs are immediate and they're huge. You get a massive boost in efficiency. You get clarity because there's now a single source of truth. That leads to consistency across all your platforms, which ultimately means you can move faster. You get faster deployment cycles and more time for actual innovation. It's a win-win-win.
And the impact is staggering. We've seen teams that implement this approach cut their architectural review time by up to 90%. 90! Just think about that for a second. Think about what your team could build with all of that time back.
So, I'll just leave you with this thought. Multicloud isn't some far-off future. It's the reality right now. And the only real question left is this. Are you going to let its complexity run your business, or are you going to take control? Unification might just be the only sustainable path forward. The choice is yours.